Hi everyone, I'm Nadia, and in today's video, my mom and I are making beach-themed serving boards. The first thing that we're doing is taping the edges of the back side of the board with painter's tape. Painter's tape is a good option to use when working for resin because the resin doesn't easily seep under it. Once I have the tape around all of the edges of the board, I'm using an X-Acto knife to cut off any pieces that are hanging. And my mom does the same. Then my mom tapes some small cups onto the back of the board, where I'm just going to be placing my board on top of 2 small cups. And we're doing this to allow the resin to flow over the board, and we have the tape to protect the back. And we're using a leveler to make sure that the surface that we're working on is leveled. Resin is self-leveling, so it's really important to make sure that you're working on a flat and leveled space. Then we mixed our part A and our part B resin together for about 3 minutes. And we started pouring it into smaller cups to add the pigments. And this was a failed attempt at trying to show you guys which pigment we're using, but it is a pigment paste from Just Resin in the shade Bermuda Bay. And the next pigment we're using is also from Just Resin in the shade Turquoise Basic. First, we mixed Bermuda Bay into our resin for a few minutes to make sure that there won't be any blobs of pigment. Then we started to get our white pigment from Just Resin in the shade Titanium White, ready to use for the waves while we mixed Turquoise Basic into the resin for a few minutes. Then we mixed in our white pigment for a few minutes as well. Next, we started to outline with clear resin where we want our wave to begin. And we filled in the area above with our blue pigmented resin. We decided to add one more lighter color, so we took some of the leftover Bermuda Bay resin that we had and mixed it together with white, and then added some of the Turquoise Basic in it as well. And we started to apply that onto the shoreline. Then we started to blend our 3 colors together. We're also making sure that the resin covers the edges of the board in the areas where we added the blue pigmented resin. And we use a torch gun to pop any air bubbles. Then we started to carefully add the white pigmented resin right alongside where we added the clear resin. To clean up any areas on the board where resin was spilled accidentally, we're using an alcohol wipe. A torch gun can be used to heat up the resin, which makes it flow more easily. You can also do this with a heat gun. Then my mom starts to blow out the wave by tilting the heat gun horizontally. Once she's done with the heat gun, she goes in with the torch gun, and the torch gun causes some lacing. Then I start to add the white pigmented resin to my board right alongside the clear resin. My mom fixes up her shoreline by adding some more white pigmented resin while I start to heat up my resin with the heat gun. Then I tilt the heat gun horizontally and start to blow out the waves. When I'm done with the heat gun, I go in with the torch gun and then make sure that the edges are covered in resin. We waited 24 hours for the resin to dry, and here we're mixing up some more resin to add another wave. For this layer, we're going to be using transparent pigments. We're using dark turquoise from Just Resin and turquoise from Pebeo. And we're using titanium white from Just Resin again for the waves. I started to add the darker transparent turquoise onto the top of my board while my mom uses clear resin to outline where her second wave will be. Then I start to spread the resin onto my board while my mom adds the turquoise pigmented resin onto hers, and I'm using this makeup brush from D, and I highly recommend it. It makes spreading and blending a lot easier than using a wooden stick. Then my mom pours the lighter turquoise onto her board while I pour the clear resin to outline where my second wave will be, and then I go ahead and add the lighter turquoise as well. And then we blend. Then I start to add my white pigmented resin for my second wave. And again, if any resin drips onto the board where we don't want it to, we use an alcohol wipe to remove the resin. Now my mom starts to add the white pigment for her second wave. And I'm using a heat gun again to blow out the wave. Immediately after, I go in with the torch gun, which causes some nice lacing, but I'm either over torching or going too close to the resin, which causes there to be some smoke. These fumes can be harmful, so please be sure to wear a respirator mask. Then my mom starts to blow out her second wave. And I touch up my shoreline a bit by adding white pigmented resin. Then my mom uses the torch gun and tilts the board a bit and achieves some nice lacing. We add some final touches by fixing up our shoreline a bit more and popping any air bubbles with the torch, and here's the final product. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. Follow me on Instagram, Summer Girl Designs, and my mom's Instagram, Wild Heart Resin Art.